Good evening. Welcome to Washington. I'm Brett Baer. President Trump is preparing to just say no on all fronts to congressional investigators. The president says he will fight all subpoenas issued by House Democrats who are pursuing obstruction of justice accusations following the release of the Mueller report. Chief White House correspondent John Roberts starts us off tonight from the North Lawn. Good evening, John.
Brett, good evening to you. And the administration has already begun that fight, so far refusing to comply with 2 subpoenas. But the big one, and one that could end up in the courts, involves testimony from a former White House official with a treasure trove of information. Leaving the White House for an opioid summit in Atlanta today, President Trump said Democrats can forget the idea of hearing testimony from former White House counsel Don McGahn.
Well, we're fighting all the subpoenas. Look, these aren't like impartial people. The Democrats are trying to win 2020.
The chairman of the House Judiciary Committee says the White House has no grounds on which to refuse the subpoena, that he wants to talk to McGahn about topics the White House already allowed into the public domain. In a statement, Gerald Nadler saying the moment for the White House to assert some privilege to prevent this testimony from being heard has long since passed. President Trump argues that, apart from himself, Robert Mueller was allowed to speak with anyone in the administration he wanted to, and that the Democrats only want to relitigate the investigation through a partisan lens.
Well, the subpoena is ridiculous. I have been the most transparent president and administration in the history of our country by far. This has been litigated for the last 2 years, almost since I got into office.
The Democratic chair of the House Intelligence Committee scoffed at the idea of transparency. Adam Schiff tweeting, "Today, Trump said he is the most transparent president in the history of our nation." If by transparent he means opposing every request for documents and testimony by Congress and obstructing Mueller's investigation, then I don't think that word means what he thinks it means. The latest shot fired in the subpoena wars, a letter from the DOJ to Elijah Cummings, informing him that justice would not comply with a subpoena for John Gore, the head of the department's Civil Rights Division, to appear before the House Oversight Committee. Cummings fired back, "This is a massive, unprecedented, and growing pattern of obstruction." Cummings wanted to talk to Gore about the proposed 2020 census question about citizenship. President Trump today tied that question to immigration and border security, tweeting, "The American people deserve to know who is in this country," and said the fact the Supreme Court took up the citizenship question is, quote, "a really big deal." At the opioid summit, the president doubled down on immigration reform and border security, insisting that Democrats just want to play politics.
We could solve the entire problem. I say 45 minutes, but it could go a lot quicker than that. Let's bring it down to 15 minutes. If the Democrats would agree to do certain basic common sense things.
And we just heard again today from Hillary Clinton on the issue of impeachment. In an op-ed just published in the Washington Post, she repeated what we had on Special Report last night, cautioning Democrats not to rush down the road to impeachment. But in doing so, she evoked the specter of Watergate, saying, quote, "Then as now, there was an investigation that found evidence of corruption and a cover-up. It was complemented by public hearings conducted by a Senate Select Committee." She also pointed out that back then, senior White House officials were compelled to testify before Congress. Brett?
John Roberts, live on the North Lawn. John, thanks.